And you never considered finding that newer and healthy approach with other addictions of yours?
There's no healthy approach to.
Tickets are on sale for KFC Radio Live. Click the link in the bio. Get yours. Come out and hang with the boys.
Oh my God, bro!
Dude, that's like the evolution of, like, when you guys were kids, it was like, fucking, I'm gonna put a pumpkin on my head and you hit me with a baseball bat. Now it's like we have access to epidural drugs and crazy doctors and shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
That is,
Jesus.
that's got to be the most illegal thing you've ever done, right? Or I guess they've.
There's another one where I get general anesthesia in my veins while I'm riding a bicycle.
Can we see that one?
Yeah.
We'll do it later.
Yeah. All right.
That is fucking with, like, again, if you're just doing like crazy shit that you can grab around the house or, you know, whatever,
Right.
is one thing. General anesthesia is like the most dangerous thing. It's like you go into a coma.
Bro.
We put you in a coma.
Well, you stop breathing.
Yeah.
That's why they put a tube down your throat
Right.
in surgery.
So you're riding a bike.
Yeah. Hey, we should start. Let's
Yeah. Let's
start. Did we start?
We
already?
started. Let's go.
Good.
We got
Let's
it.
go.
So
All right.
so you're riding the bike.
Yeah.
And-
the idea
and you have a
started.
tube?
No, the idea started as a tranquilizer dart bit. I wanted to line up for a foot race, and it starts like, on your mark, get set. They're like, poof, they shoot tranquilizer darts into our butt cheeks, and then we see who can run the farthest before they're like fall on their face. And we found the guy with the tranquilizer dart gun, ready to go, but he tells us that what's in the darts is animal tranquilizer, also known as ketamine.
Yeah.
So I'm a drug addict in recovery. I'm like, oh God. And this is like the most like tug of war. Like this is just like the two things most important to me colliding.
Yeah.
You know, my ambition and my recovery.
Right.
Like it doesn't get more.
Now, but it's. I mean, it is ketamine, and that's not a drug you want to fuck around with. But all of these things, like even the anesthesia and the spinal tap, those are like drugs. But it's just the thought of it being a recreational drug that you could use.
Right.
Drugs you haven't done for fun.
I love ketamine.
Oh, okay. So that would have been like, okay.
I love ketamine. That's a problem.
Got it.
And since I got clean and sober, I've had like tons of surgeries and endoscopies, colonoscopy. Like I get knocked out, general anesthesia. Like
that doesn't
it, like,
affect you at all.
I mean, I always look forward to it. but
that last second before you pass out on general, or whatever, when they give you like a little bit of a sedative, and then they have you count down from like 100, and you get to 98, and I'm always like, can I get to like 97? I just want to get to 96 one day.
Yeah.
Those 4 seconds are great.
Dude, it is awesome. But I've never relapsed over it, so I felt like pretty comfortable with
afterwards. You don't do pain meds or
no. When I would I've been sober for 15 years now, and I've never even filled out a prescription for painkillers.
And you'll have major surgery and just gotta like
grate
your teeth and go through it.
Whatever they give me in the hospital is fine. Like I'll take it. But it's just once I leave the hospital, like I don't want to be in possession of painkillers.
That's why you do
but
all
they'll
these
give
crazy
you
stunts.
something there. Like he'll give you more.
Yeah, they'll give me like whatever comes through the IV, like sure. Whatever they give me in the hospital. I just don't take possession of anything.
We mentioned there's an email gets sent out when we have guests coming in, and I was hanging out in the content area, and people were like, "Whoa, Steve-O's coming today," and it's like, "Yeah," and someone asked, I thought, a good question where they were like, "Of all the famous addicts, who do you think had like the highest run? Who do you think's like gone the craziest?"
I know Charlie Sheen's a pretty good bet.
I thought you had your peak. Like you got control of it, not control maybe, but you put a pin in it and ended it fast. I feel.
Well, I mean that's kind of what typically happens is that it gets super bad. You know, nobody gets clean and sober because it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you keep doing it through that. Yeah.
That's I have a friend from my hometown, a family friend, Chris Herron, who famous addict, and he
great at basketball.
Okay.
Probably would have been the greatest
Chris?
of all time.
He has a recovery foundation and stuff like that. But he had I saw him give a speech when I was in high school where he had a kind of cool quote where he was like, picture an addict. And, everyone pictures someone in despair and all that. And he's like, that's not what an addict looks like. An addict looks like a regular person. What you're picturing is someone at the end of the rope. Like, a regular addict is functioning and is fine. You're picturing someone bad. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, I feel like there's still people, there's been a big movement in mental health and drug addiction that people are like, whenever somebody tragically passes away, it's like you got to speak up about it, and like it could be anybody, but it's still, I don't think people get that it really could be anybody.
Sure. I mean, the disease of addiction does not discriminate. I think we're clear on that. I think that the stigma of being an addict or an alcoholic is gone. I don't think that there's...
You don't think so? I feel like there still is. People say that, but like in everyday walk of life, I feel like people will still judge or be super surprised or...
It's not controversial to say I'm clean and sober, like in recovery.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna, like in the beginning that was a concern for like the people who started AA and stuff. They're like, whoa, we don't necessarily need to broadcast that we're alcoholics.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I think Robert Downey Jr., which isn't too long ago, that was like a big deal.
You interviewed him?
No. I'm just saying like the fact that he got like getting back into, I think he started back with Ally McBeal or something like that. And
right.
Then
he's been sober for a long time.
It was like, I think there was a lot of red tape that they had to get through to get him to be Iron Man. Because Disney wasn't sure about it. And
right.
He's got to be one of the greatest, examples ever of recovery and success.
Yeah, big time. What is still very stigmatized is sex addiction. It's not very cool to jump up and say, I'm a sex addict.
Are you a sex addict?
I'm a sex addict.
Oh.
Yeah. And,
but you're married now, right?
I'm engaged. I'm engaged. And my partner, my girl, Lux, I think I can speak for her that she's grateful that I make it a real priority to keep my shit on track, to have integrity, do the right thing when nobody's watching. Like, she knows that I keep it right.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be the guy who says I'm a sex addict and I work really hard to do the right thing than the guy who doesn't say anything and is just a scumbag.
Right. Yeah, well, it almost keeps you accountable, right? In a way, by being open about it. Maybe a buddy or somebody's like, don't go there or stay away from this or that.
I'm super ignorant about sex addiction, so forgive me if questions.
Yeah, go for it, man.
But like, does that happen with Lux? Are you like, do you always want to fuck? Like, are you? Is being a sex addict and living with a woman like living with a bag of heroin in the house?
No. And I love that.
Because you're allowed to.
I love that question.
Her, like,
right. I think that the difference between sex addiction and, say, alcoholism or drug addiction is that it's really black and white with the chemical substances. Mm-hmm. You just don't have them. It's black, you don't have them. You're not supposed to have them. You're better off not having them. So it's just like that. But when it comes to food or sex, like, you got to eat and you can't change the fact that you're a sexual creature. Mm-hmm. So it's not about eliminating the behavior. It's about finding a new and healthy approach to it that doesn't cause shame and destruction.
And you never considered finding that newer and healthy approach with other addictions of yours?
There's no healthy approach to cocaine. Put that on a fucking medical board study. There's no healthy approach to cocaine. Dr. Steve-O.
Right, and a lot of people can smoke marijuana and have no problem with that. But
weed's actually one of the things that I've ever been like, I got to stop doing weed. Because that weed sticks with me the next day. I feel like the fog and stuff like that. Weed's one of the few ones where I was like, I think I'm just gonna. I still do it occasionally on like the weekends and stuff like that, but I stopped smoking weed like as often as I did.
Weed's the one thing that I can say that I miss the most.
Really?
Yeah, but I also believe pretty strongly that my weed bone is connected to my booze bone, and my booze bone's connected to my coke bone.
Yeah.
My coke bone's connected to my pill bone. Like, it's all just like dominoes that fall down. Like, if I try to do one thing, then I end up on everything. Yeah. So like, it's really like California sober doesn't work for me. Right,
man. Right. What do you think about that? Like the California, I feel like what people, I think Demi Lovato was California sober, and The Weeknd was what was he? Sober light. And all that. I was like, you're just like inventing words to describe not sober.
Yeah, I don't get why you feel the need to use that word, especially when there are people out there who are like busting their ass to be fully sober. It's like, just say you don't drink or you don't do these drugs, but you do these drugs. Why?
I can speak for the entire recovery community when I say that there's no judgment in whatever approach you want to take.
Right,
Like if you can smoke weed and be like happy and healthy and have a great life, then hell yeah, that's all any of us want. You know, like it's just our experience that what makes us addicts and alcoholics is that we just can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, if you can, that's great. You know, it's kind of like if I was diabetic, then, you know, I wouldn't be mad at you for ingesting sugar.
Right.
You know, like, I just can't have sugar.
Yeah.
You know?
Nick Swartzen had a good bit about that, where he's like, it's like if I was out to dinner and someone didn't use ketchup, I was like, you mind if I put ketchup in my fries? Like,
Yeah.
do the
Go
fuck you
fucking
want,
ahead.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, the exception to that is, like, with weed, because, like, I don't want to be breathing it into my lungs. Like, then it's like entering my body, and like, so I just like, and like, I love the way it smells, and it makes me sad because I can't have it. You know, like, so it's been tough here in New York. Like, you walk around like anywhere on the sidewalk that you might be, like, it's like powerful, overwhelming marijuana clouds.
It's that no fucking around weed too. It's not just like, let me get a couple hits and smoke a whole joint. It's like, oh, I'm high. Like, weed's too strong for me now. I want to go back in the day where it's like shitty and
it's gnarly.
Yeah.
It's really gnarly. But yeah, man, it's good to see you guys again.
It's great to see you too, brother.
I'm super stoked, dude.
and you I would imagine most people when they do recovery are like gonna live like a low key, chill life, and you go out there and do the exact fucking opposite of that. Do you think? I think you also might be like a thrill addiction. No.
Attention addiction, for sure, and there's
it's like, stop doing this shit, Steve. Just sit on the couch and watch some TV, you fucking maniac.
What was the process like getting Bill to drag you around that helicopter?
Dude,
we didn't realize it the first cut.
Yeah.
The second cut, I was like, that's Bill, because I knew he flies helicopters.
Yeah, Bill Burr, man. Like, I wanted the opening sequence of my bucket list special. I always want the opening sequence to be epic. Yeah. You know,
dude,
no
I remember the
last.
I forget the name. I'm sorry, but I remember the last one when you drove.
The
duct tape to the bus.
Yeah, that was called Gnarly. And dude, thanks for knowing that, man. Thanks. Yeah, we did. We drove me down the highway.
I love the fucking roses in the mouth.
Yeah. Well, the whole show is really a love story. So there were two things I wanted to do with the opening sequence. I wanted to, like, grab a rope ladder, like, attached to a helicopter, and just like grab it and have it lift me off and fly me around, and I wanted to drop from the rope ladder onto the roof of my moving tour bus, kind of as a way to get me to the theater. And then we got more ambitious. We started like figuring out how to, like, you know, swing me through like electrical wires and have like all kinds of crazy.
Is that real?
The phone company came in and installed special telephone poles.
Oh shit!
And like what are they called? Transistors, transformer box. Yeah, like yeah, we definitely took some liberties with that just to make.
He's like, watch out for the wires.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I had filmed that opening sequence, and then I showed it to Bill, and I was like, "Hey, Bill, like, could we shoot you flying a helicopter to cut it in, that you're the helicopter pilot flying me all around?" And what a bro!
Yeah.
When he was like, "Dude, you rent the helicopter, I'll fly it."
You were friends prior to this?
I've known him. You know, not super well, but he's just always been like really supportive.
Yeah.
And
There's nobody that doesn't like you guys. He's like everybody, you know, would be like down to, you know, be with you guys, work with you guys, whatever.
Not everybody in stand-up comedy has really like embraced Steve-O, the comedian. And Bill is like, Bill's actually pushed back on other comedians to their faces saying like, what do you got a fucking problem with this guy? He's like, it's pretty rad the way that Bill Burr has stood up for me and signed off on me and supported me. It's just really rad.
You've also done it in a very clearly like your own Steve-O way. If you were up there just being like, I'm a traditional stand-up comedian, and you cut the corners and I don't know, even I feel like if you can fill a room with your fans, you get to be on the stage and do whatever the fuck you want. But I do get that there's like, pay your dues and there's this history behind it all. But you're very much like, you're going to watch these clips. We're going to do outrageous stuff. It's very Steve-O.
I appreciate that, and I agree with that. I think that above all else, it is a very democratic art. Mm-hmm. I mean,
if the people like it. Sink or swim.
It's democratic. If people want it, then they're going to support it. If you're not delivering a show that satisfies the audience, then there's not going to be an audience, and you're not going to continue.
And if there is one, like, you got to shut the fuck up. And you don't like it, you got to shut the fuck up.
For sure.
Whether it's your style of comedy or the jokes or man, woman, big, small, like what it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
In the beginning. In the beginning, it was like, oh, wow, this would be great. Like, if I can establish myself as a stand-up comedian, then, like, when breaking bones and shoving things up my butt doesn't make sense anymore, like, I'll have that. Like, there's more longevity in that.
You think, dude?
Yeah,
you think?
And that was back in 2010 when I started the comedy club circuit. And over the course of the last 13 years, like, my worlds have just like grown closer together and ultimately just collided.
Yeah.
Where it's Jackass meets stand up. So this new show, The Bucket List, it's the wildest, most over the top shit that I would never even be able to do for Jackass. And that's the bucket list. And the show is a journey through the bucket list in descending order of my fiance's approval and support. In the beginning, she's all about it. She's filming it.
Worse and worse.
Yeah, in the beginning, like she's all, and then she's like, she's not loving it. She's like kind of, and then she stops showing up, and then we've got problems. So that's why it's a love story. That's why
that's the realest fucking depiction of love, right?
I put the fucking relationship to the test. with this bucket list. And so, yeah, it's rad. And having been a stand-up comedian for 13 years, like, I developed the craft to the point where now it's like I'm operating at, high levels in the whole thing. All of it put together. And, yeah, like, I'm not emulating what I think a stand-up comedian is, not even. I'm like, all right, I'm going to take you on a fucked up journey. And what's fun about it is that, like, I think most comedians either entirely make up the stories in their act or ridiculously exaggerate and embellish.
You're the only one.
Not only do I, like, specifically stick to the truth. After I tell the stories, then I screen the video, which provides the receipts for every implausible detail. It's like hearing somebody say, like, tell you something like, yeah, I bet. Yeah, sure. And then you see the exact fucking thing in the video, which is so much fun.
I wonder if Steve-O could even tell somebody a lie. It's
a tough one.
He could tell me anything, and I'd be like, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
There's nothing. If you played two truths and a lie, I'd be like, I don't fucking know, man. You did them all.
It's tough, and here's one thing that people will accuse me of being dishonest about, and I categorically was not. Like, in the bucket list, one of the earlier stunts that my fiance is totally down with was called the Vasectomy Olympics. Because we don't want to have kids. We just want to have a farm with a bunch of animals and fuck children. So
wait. We gotta freeze that.
Yeah.
No, we want to have a bunch of animals and fuck children.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
Epstein's in his grave like, hey, that's my thing.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
We get you. We got you.
Thank you for clearing that up. And so, like, so I got a vasectomy, and the idea, like, I heard a joke when I was a little kid. What's the definition of macho? It's a man who jogs home from his own vasectomy. And I always remembered that joke because I loved the idea of being macho. Yeah. And so I literally grew up with the idea that I should get a vasectomy and then just go ham doing wild shit, you know? And so, like, the idea was, you know, get a vasectomy and go, like, bareback horseback riding.
Most people go home and sit on the bag of peas is the joke, right?
And then I'm, like, dressed up as a piñata with little kids whacking me in the balls with the stick, you know, like, and it's outrageous. It's over the top. It's really funny, and the bit pays off with, like, you know, with a gnarly aftermath.
Bro,
shot,
your dick's gotta be begging you to stop.
Yeah, your dick must. Your dick and balls got dealt the worst fucking hand ever. Could have just been connected to a nice vanilla sex normal person.
Can I be an accountant in Nebraska? Like,
I've been beat to death. I've had, like, alligators bite me. I'm getting tased. I'm getting fucked constantly. Yeah. Jesus, just leave me alone, dude.
I don't disagree. Staples.
Yeah.
But the thing, and like the actual procedure of the vasectomy is like minimally invasive.
Right.
You know, like I thought the footage was like underwhelming. I'm like, man, I'm glad I went so crazy afterwards.
Do they go in or they open you?
They make like the tiniest incision. And then just like tweeze out
like underneath or like in your.
It's called a vas deferens, which is the tube that delivers sperm from your nuts to your wiener.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they just like pull it out with tweezers and cut that thing.
Right.
But as soon as I started the tour, you know, I tell the stories and then I pay them off with the video. When we played the vasectomy bit, we learned that people in the audience were straight fucking passing out.
Really?
Like we would average like a person a show. Then the shows got bigger because I graduated to theaters, and
you know, probability. You know, like the numbers.
Right. Still,
the sample size gets bigger.
There were always some shows where nobody would pass out, but we had shows where like the most we had was 11 people pass out. Yeah.
From this one, like throughout the show, or just like boom, 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 they all drop.
There's the vasectomy, and then the epidural foot race. That one
a lot of times
pass out.
When chicks get the epidural when they're giving birth, a lot of times the doctors will tell the dad to either look away or leave the room.
Really?
Because there are dads who are like, I'm cool, like I'm fine with this, and then you see them go in and they pass out.
Yeah, and then there's the cauliflower ear bit, where like my ear just completely fucking explodes because the greatest mixed martial artist of all time is whacking it with a hammer. Trying to
whack with a hammer?
Yeah, like
why did you need a mixed martial artist? I could hit it with a hammer.
Yeah, but John Jones.
Hey, which year?
It just exploded.
It looks
like
great now, though.
I had the who's who of the UFC Hall of Fame do everything in their power to try to give me cauliflower. Chuck Liddell, Ronda Rousey, John Jones, and it turns out that I seem to be one of these people who cannot get cauliflower ear, no matter how hard you try.
So you would like put it on, like he didn't hit you in the head with a hammer, just your ear, right?
No, like
so you like hold it and put it against something.
He has this workout machine with like super heavy metal bass, and I lay on the ground. And put my ear.
That might make me. I was gonna say I don't think I would ever pass out at something. If I was forced to watch that, I think I would.
We sandwiched my ear between the metal base of his workout machine and his current light heavyweight championship belt. And he took the hammer to the belt, and until my ear literally exploded.
Oh my!
And people pass out from that too.
But it looks good now.
I mean, it never stopped looking. I mean, there was a huge piece that was just flapping off. And John cut it off with scissors.
Did it grow back?
They didn't go back. It just kind of healed.
Oh my god,
dude, that is.
It's gnarly.
Do you think you're like an alien?
I don't know that I'm an alien.
Do you think that there's something like physiologically, biologically different from like me and you when it comes to pain or whatever? That like there's actually like it's not just mental that you're like a little bit you actually feel differently than I do.
I think that I have an attention-seeking disorder. Like, I don't have a special threshold for pain. I just have a desire for attention which outweighs my desire for comfort.
You're fucking telling me, dude. The understatement of the century, dog.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
The people passing out.
So at the taping, I'd been making a big deal out of people passing out, like, kind of throughout the tour. And for the taping, I told the production company, like, look, I need to go bonkers and have more coverage of the audience than there's ever been for a comedy special, because wherever in the audience somebody passes out, I need to get it. And we taped this special in one night, 2 shows. At the early show, 5 people passed out. The late show, 3 people passed out. I could not have planted this dude myself. And this is what I'm saying. People are going to accuse me of being dishonest. They're going to say that I hired an actor to pretend to pass out. And I'm telling you, I did not. And I even said it on stage. It didn't make the cut, but I was like, man, people are going to accuse me of playing this guy, because he was in the second row and in the second seat in from the center aisle. And it's perfectly well captured. You can see him, like, he's like, oh, dude, like, to his buddies, like, oh, I gotta get out of here. And he tries to get past his buddy, but he just kind of slumps over him and lands on his face in the center aisle, which is carpeted, and slides across it on his face. And then he's just out, face down. The dude had the gnarliest carpet burn on his face, and, like, you know, there's a what do you call it? Like, it's called cable cast. There's a big sign on the wall when you go in the theater. It says, like, by entering this area, you agree to being filmed. You know, like, you release your image. But because this guy, like, did this gnarly face plant, and, like, now, like, he's the center of attention, like, they went to him, the producers, with the release form. They're like, oh man, can you sign this so that we can show that? And the guy was embarrassed. So he's like, I'm not fucking signing that, no way. Really? So
Come on.
We blurred his face.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, like, the only real downside of that is that you can't see the raspberry that he had on his face, you know, because that would, like, there's nobody that, I mean, you can tell if it's not fucking fake. You can tell it's not fucking, dude. It's just so. And
is there any liability? Like,
I mean, dude, like, at the first thing you saw, the warning at the top, there's a chance he might pass out. You're watching at your own risk.
Right.
Before the vasectomy video, I always say, like, you know, for legal reasons, I have to say you're watching this at your own risk. That one's so funny.
I wouldn't think that's that gruesome.
Which one? The vasectomy?
The vasectomy. The ear thing, for sure. That sounds like you're watching, like, medieval torture.
And the vasectomy, and I would love to encourage people to get vasectomies. It's like, for the person getting the vasectomy, it's just like going to the dentist, where they make the area of the tooth numb. So you do feel the little prick when they inject the anesthesia in, you know, to make, but then you don't feel where they're grinding on your tooth, whatever. Like, you don't feel it because it's numb.
Right.
The only thing you feel is the initial prick.
When did you decide on the vasectomy?
Shit, I decided years, dude. It was like,
I feel like your wheels are spinning.
Well, because that's my like, I don't want kids, and, like, I just keep waking up every day being like, maybe today, like, I'm not getting a vasectomy because I'm like, maybe today I'll, like, my biology will flip, and, like, I want a kid, and, like, every day I'm like, I get home, I'm like, dude, fucking God, there's not a kid here.
It's pretty gnarly. Like, like, if you think about it, I mean, I get it that there was a time when people generally lived on farms, like, they needed, like, extra workers. It was like they just, like, have more kids because there's a lot of work that needs to be done to run the farm.
Which is fucking crazy when you think about it.
And there was also the philosophy of, like, have a bunch of kids because when you're, like, properly elderly, like, you're gonna want to have those kids to care for you in the last days of your life. But that's not what's going on. Nobody lives on a fucking farm, and, like, no kids are taking care of their parents It's the other way around. Like the kids
You
are
just
fucking
keep going forever and ever.
The kids are fucking 45 years old and they still live with mom and dad. You know, like
I'm like,
it's the most expensive pet you could possibly get.
It's like
Right, you have no
that
fucking
same thing
idea.
you're saying with like they take care of you at the end. You're right, they don't. And then like I'm gonna invest money for 60 years so someone fucking buys my like. There's a nurse around. There's
right.
But so do you?
I mean, like I'm very very clear on not wanting to have kids. The first time I brought up the vasectomy Olympics was around the time that we filmed our first Jackass movie over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The first Jackass movie just turned 21 years old.
Wow.
And I remember it was around that time. I said, Dad, it's going to be great. I'm going to vasectomy Olympics. And my dad was like uncharacteristically emotional. He said, son, don't do it. Don't do that.
Well, because it's very permanent, right?
He said, if it were not for me and my sister, that his life would not be as full and as enriched. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, well, Dad, you got kind of fucking lucky. You know, you were this close to having the worst situation which you can possibly be in, which is a parent losing a child.
Right.
You know, like they're the idea of having a child. It's like your heart now resides outside of your body and like is vulnerable to. I couldn't stand the pressure, the anxiety of that. Yeah. And like I have three main reasons. Number one is my problematic DNA. You know,
I was wondering if you were worried about passing on some.
On my mom's side of the family, 100% of the family tree is riddled with alcoholism, addiction, gambling, and suicide. Not fun. It's not fun. You know, like passing that, like me having a kid would be. Selfish. It would be like playing Russian roulette with a fully loaded weapon. You know, like I'm gonna have a problem.
Right. When people, there's not one piece of the DNA that can squeak through.
Right.
And if I feel like sometimes, I mean, that sucks. If you feel like you really want to have kids, and you have that family history, I don't know what you do there, but it does feel like you're gonna bring this person into the world, and you're really gonna burden them with some shit. You might not want to do that.
I don't.
Usually having kids is not selfish in a sense, but in this case, you know,
I don't want to have kids because the second reason, I don't want to give up my life. Yeah. You know, like I don't like when you have a kid, you all of a sudden no longer have a life. Like now you just have a priority, which is your child's life. Yep. And like, you know, I'm just really okay with admitting that I'm way too self-absorbed. I'm way too.
I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting that.
Right. I just it's just not. It's
better to be honest with yourself
not for me,
than have somebody like a girl convinces you to have a kid, and you're deep down, you know, I don't want this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and then you're a shitty dad, or it's a shitty relationship, or whatever. Right. It's like,
and then the third reason, like, look at the fucking world. Like, do you really want it on your conscience that you created a person to deal with this fucking situation that the world is becoming?
That I would push back on, though, because, like, the flip side of that is, like, look how awesome the world is. Look what you're doing. Look what, like, the people you've met, the shit that you've done, you're living out a dream. You know what I mean?
That's pretty optimistic.
Well, I think as... you know, the worst part of the world being like a war-torn, violent, whatever, blah, 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 is the one extreme. And then like, you know, living out your dream is the other extreme.
Okay.
So, you have a kid, it's like you're not guaranteed to like die in a terrorist attack. The same way you're probably not going to become an athlete or an entertainer or whatever. But there's in between.
All right. I mean, I applaud your optimism. I think it's wonderful. The way I view it, we live in an age of straight mega threats. Mm-hmm. Mega threats. Like climate change is a lot gnarlier than anybody wants to admit. You know, like the number of like more than $1 billion natural disasters is just preposterous.
We were talking about preventing the erosion of Manhattan the other day, and it's going to cost $53 billion.
I mean, dude, like,
that's just the regular waves, like the regular water. Forget about like a tsunami or a fucking earthquake, or
one way that could prevent it.
Every little half-ass fucking hurricane is like over $1 billion. You know, like it's like these weather events. Do you notice on the news?
Dude,
it's
Steve-O
like
not having kids because of the weather is hilarious.
do you notice on the news they talk about like a once in a century storm
Every year, once a year.
Once a year, it's like once a month.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so
we did that with New York with the hurricanes. It was Hurricane Sandy was a once in a lifetime, and then it was like Ida, and there's like I can rattle off like 5 names. They're
right,
all,
and it's not all even hurricanes.
Right,
it's just
right.
like whatever, like just.
But
rain.
you don't think that like you're also an example of how awesome life is?
Well, I do. I think I'm profoundly grateful for how fortunate I've been, and I'm not comfortable.
Risking it.
I'm not comfortable betting on my offspring having such good fortune as I did.
That's fair. That's totally fair because it is a 1 in a million shot. And
I'm guessing like maybe you guys. Which generation are you? Like
I was born in '85, so
okay, I'm born in '74. We can lump us in with the same generation.
Yeah.
Fuck it. So we can probably still say that your parents, our parents, graduating from a university meant placement in a career of their choosing.
Yeah.
For us, not so much. It was like consensus would agree that a university diploma was helpful, but not a guarantee of anything. And now for our children, a university diploma, it means absolutely nothing but being mired in debt.
Yeah.
Mired in debt and
There was a Biden said something the other day. I don't want to get too political. Biden said something the other day where he was like, I think going to college should be a gateway to the middle class. It's like, that didn't used to be a gateway to the middle class,
right?
Dude.
Sure.
The fact that it's not, that's crazy.
How about this? Like, we don't have a middle class anymore. The middle class fucking evaporated. The middle class evaporated, and the disgusting wealth disparity has ceased to be funny. Like the dwindling opportunity where hardworking, honest, good people cannot afford their rent. You know, like it's just really fucked up. And on top of that, the debt. I mean, like the $30 trillion in debt does not even factor in what's called unfunded liabilities, which means like Social Security, Medicare. These are once you factor in all of that, which has to be paid by the government, you're talking over 100 trillion.
Yeah,
it's
Which
like
is
it's
just like such a fucking number.
Yeah.
That's just like, what are we talking? You know?
It's not, and there's only 2 ways out of it. You pay it. And we can't do that. We can't even pay the interest on it. We literally can't even pay the interest on it. And that's why, like, we have, they're going to shut down the government over debt ceiling talks. Because, like, we're trying to figure out how to pay the interest on what we owe. So we're never going to pay the debt. And the only other way is to inflate the money away, you know? And so that we're like post-World War I Germany, where they're wheelbarrowing fucking a loaf of bread. Yeah, like we're fucked.
We talk about that a lot. We're like, what if China just wants their money back? What if we?
I'll tell you what they're doing.
What if we wake up one day and they're just like, we're taking it back. You owe it to us.
I mean, they effectively are. They're selling off their U.S. debt, and China, as well as all of the big central banks around the world, are buying gold. Because when the U.S. dollar turns into complete fucking worthless
but even
bullshit.
gold is a fucking made up thing too. You know
Not really, man. Gold has been
but only because it's agreed upon.
Understood, but for thousands of years, it's been undeniable.
Right,
you know, like,
right.
And I'm not even saying that as an opinion. I'm just pointing to the fact that China, like all these central governments, are just buying up gold. That's why the price of gold has maintained, you know, it's pretty crazy. Like,
I mean, the minute we untethered from
the gold standard,
got
right?
Out of, you know, it's
I
like,
mean, we
you
never
just started making up the rules.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, dude, it's fucked. It's like the whole debt situation, the whole war, like it's just fucked. You got,
but do you think that's going to trickle down to like in every, you know, I have 2 kids, right? So you're saying you don't want to have kids, and you think the debt situation will, like, directly impact their life?
Yes.
In in a way that's like it's not worth living. Like I understand that. Like,
I mean, I'm not going to say not worth living. I had this
buying a house, having a job, earning enough money to live is just like it's just gonna be too hard.
I had a conversation with my longest friend. We've known each other since we were 9 years old. His name's Abdullah. We graduated together from the American school in London. You know, all four years of high school, I was in London, and Abdullah went to Brown University. Graduated with a 4.0, went to Cornell Medical School from there, and then went on to become a pediatric surgeon at the Mayo Clinic, where he invented ways of operating on unborn babies in the womb, like fixing them so that they could be, like, he's the most incredible dude ever. And as kids, like, you know, we would, like, I would pray with him to Mecca and stuff, very like Muslim, and obviously our paths went very differently. But but we stayed in touch, and we got together at one point in, I think it was like 2012, something like that. And I said to Abdullah, I was like, man, same thing. Our parents, like, you know, university diploma, meant all this great stuff for its dwindling opportunity. I don't have it on my conscience I don't want it on my conscience to create a person. Abdullah says to me, in Africa, with the famine, the poverty, the disease, do you think people are any less happy? And my gut instinct is like, well, yeah, yeah, a lot happy.
No, like,
and Abdullah, like, genuinely believes, he would even state it as a fact that is not the case, that happiness is not something which is determined by quality of life. You know, and I get it. What he's saying is that, like, you can strip somebody of everything, but you cannot strip somebody of their capacity to love another. It's in the capacity to love another which we really derive true happiness. So I get it, but I still got the vasectomy. You know, and now, and I'm sure this is the last conversation anybody expected to get from Steve.
I love it.
But to answer your question about is it going to affect your kids, I think that it's never possible to predict the timing of an event, but given the fundamental facts of the debt, of, you know, all the rest of it, I think that we can state with a fact, we can state it as a fact that shit's gonna change. I think particularly for America now that, like, that China, Russia, you name it, the world is conspiring to get off the fucking dollar as the reserve currency. I mean, it's not going anywhere. The dollar will be the reserve currency for the whole world for the foreseeable future. But for the entirety of your kid's life, I don't know. And once we get off that once the dollar's not calling the shots anymore, then we're just straight up Roman Empire over here. And it already feels like it already feels kind of like Roman Empire-y.
Right. It's
you
not
know,
as good as it was, and it's just like,
I mean, it's really gnarly. Like, we, if not us, our kids are the first generation which doesn't stand a chance of doing as well as since the founding fathers, since America was born as a country, every generation did better than their parents. Upward trajectory for every generation until us or our kids. And now it's just like, you know, and whatever.
I shouldn't have had kids. I've made a mistake. I was going to say, John's going to leave right now.
But there are a lot of people who are going to say that the biggest problem is depopulation. Because the baby boomers was the biggest generation. You got more baby boomers than any other generation, which means that right now is a particular time of crisis because the working age people who are generating tax revenue is the smallest number, and the retired people with the most health problems and the biggest drain on Social Security, like Medicare, like all of the most expensive people who are not even fucking paying taxes. They're just to suck on the system. Are all these fucking baby boomer, you know, like 70, 80-year-old people. And that's what's happening, like, all over the world, is that the consensus general, like, demographics, it's more old people who are drained and less young people who are earning money. And so that's a problem that's going to continue, and it's like, all right, like, we can't support this shit.
Amen, brother.
I mean, and whatever, like, and at the same time too, like I put it, but last time I saw you guys, I was promoting my second book. My second book. It was called A Hard Kick in the Nuts, and in that book, I paint this picture of why I don't want to have kids, and I really shit on having kids. And my publicist was like, "Hey, I want you to know, I strongly disagree." I strongly disagree. I don't think it's a good look the way you're shitting on having kids. I think that it's going to bum people out, and I don't think it's true. And that's his opinion, So, like, I urge you to talk to my publicist.
All right,
Yeah.
so you got to go, so I appreciate it. But
Yeah,
it
dude.
was great, man. So,
Dude, I
bucket
love
list.
it. The bucket list is the most fucked up thing that I've ever made.
That's crazy. I thought you would have topped yourself like years and years ago. The fact that you keep one-upping it, and really for our generation, you guys are some of the most beloved people, and you like stand out above the rest with everything you're doing. So,
Well, thanks,
congrats,
man. I showed you guys the 4-inch needle going in my spine. Like, I didn't even tell you about the part where I blow a load simultaneously while I'm falling out of an airplane.
That's a great way to have kids that way.
Yeah, it's at stevo.com. Check out the bucket list, and thank you guys so much, man.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Click that button.
Or I'll cut off my finger.